Well, hello, and a very warm welcome to the second instalment in our Lockdown Tapes series here at Trapper Line. I'm Dave Clark, joined by, as you can see, the bottom right-hand side of the screen, Matt Newman, and we're joined, very luckily to be joined, by one of the top trainers in the country, the big man himself, Kevin Hutton. Kev, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you, Dave. Yeah.
Now, I say big man in terms of stature and size. Kev, without question, being one of the tallest trainers in the country. Now, the current state of play, we've not raced since Monday, the 23rd of March. There's not really any word when we'll be back, but I'm sure the GBGB are planned and ready to go when safe to do so. How have you been finding it personally, Kev?
Yeah, it's been very strange times, Dave, hasn't it? Missing the racing greatly. Obviously such a huge part of our lives, and it's been very, very strange not having it. But I must admit the extra time that's given us, to stay at the kennels and do odd jobs and spend even more time with the dogs has been an absolute pleasure.
Now, I know we've got a little slideshow of you talk of your kennels, the facilities that you have there. Looking through your social media, Kev, you've been working the dogs hard up the gallop. Tell us a little bit about what you've actually got at your base.
Yeah, we're very lucky. The one thing we have got is a lot of space. Our buildings are very, very big, which enabled us to give us really generous kennels. They're probably as big a kennels as I've seen anywhere. And we were fortunate after the Derby win in 2018 that we were able to completely renovate. I think it was 32 double kennels we did in the end. Completely re-brickworked and metal work. And just absolutely beautiful kennels, even if I do say so. We put a couple of whelping kennels in there as well, as we look to increase our presence on the British bred scene. And we've got a fantastic 290-metre sawdust gallop there. So it's a beautiful part of the world. We're on a 1,500-acre private estate in the Cotswolds, and we've been there, I think, 15 years now. So, we're very settled and very happy with it.
Now, am I right in thinking it was a piggery before, Kev? Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it was put up during the Second World War, actually. Its first job was to house prisoners of war during the Second World War. So, they've got a lot of history there. They were turned into piggeries. And it was a piggery until, I think, 2 years before we showed up. And obviously completely cleaned everything out and redid it all. But the one thing we have got there is a lot of space. The buildings are very generous in their size. They're probably not the prettiest in the world, but they've made super kennels, and we're very, very happy there.
Let's talk about the team at home as well. Donna, part of the team, your assistant trainer and partner. Staffing issues? Has there been any sort of staffing issues in the lockdown?
No, nothing at all, fortunately. We've been able to keep the same team. Obviously, myself and Donna are a big part of that. So no, it's apart from the racing, it's very much been business as usual for us.
And then, has there been any sort of financial impacts? I think we're all feeling the pinch a little, but obviously that stream of prize money has not been coming through. Has there been support? Has it been accessible? Has it been useful?
Yeah, I think everyone's done a tremendous job. I think, certainly the GBGB, and we're very lucky to be attached to Monmore, and both parties have been absolutely top class. They were on the phone straight away as all this begun, to see what was needed, see what we needed from them, and how they could help us. And, Monmore have made a great contribution towards the majority of our dogs, as well as the GBGB payment. So both have obviously come straight off the owner's bills, which is a big help to everyone in, real testing times financially.
Yeah, well, speaking of owners, as you rightly mentioned there, that stream of prize money from taking part racing, winning races and competitions would usually come off of the kennel bill. So not just trainers feeling the strain, owners as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably even more difficult for owners at this time, to be fair, because obviously they've got jobs and their own businesses which have had a huge impact in these current times. So to try and find kennel bills on top of all your ordinary bills when your businesses and jobs are a lot quieter than normal is obviously very, very tough. So we try to do as much as we can to help everyone, and just try and get through this next month, and hopefully the prize money will start coming back in, and things will pick up for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope so. And Matt, as we kind of touched on already, Kevin's kennel, one of the busiest in the country, up and down, and we record this on a Sunday night where Kev would likely have runners down at Central Park.
Yeah, be about 15 minutes walk from me. It's very much the Sunday night tradition down here. I mean, you are usually up and down the country racing. Have you enjoyed being able to spend a bit more time at the kennel with the dogs?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, Matt. Actually, yeah, it's been lovely not having to dart here, there, and everywhere. It's probably only now you realise just how exhausted you are, in your day-to-day life. The amount of driving we have to do, could be 4 hours to Romford on a Friday, quite easily, 2.5 hours to Central Park on a Sunday, plus all your normal racing as well. So it's a tough schedule, but we do miss the racing. There's no doubt about that. Miss the routine of it, but for this short time, it's actually been quite a refreshing break for us.
Yeah, I mean, you're well known, obviously, predominantly as an open racing kennel, and let's walk before we can run and get back racing with the graded dogs first. But have you got any concerns about the open race schedule for later in the year, disruptions to the calendar and competitions?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of concerns surrounding the open racing. Obviously, we need to make sure that we firstly get back to racing when it's safe to do so. Get the graded dogs back on. Get contact for the betting shops. But we do need a plan for the open race dogs. We need to know what tracks want to do with their open race schedules, whether sponsorship money is going to be there for the big competitions, and if we can do some fairly quick rescheduling for the second half of the year. Because obviously grading racing is very, very important. It's the backbone of the sport, but the open racing is very, very important. We need that top end of the sport to keep going. We need our derby, and we need those other big competitions. So I think it's imperative that as soon as we can, we need to get a plan together, exactly what's going to happen for the open race dogs.
And it's an important point that you touch on, that we do need a derby. Are you sitting around just praying that we're going to get back to normal in time for a derby? Derby in the autumn has been mooted. Are we hoping this is possible?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important that we try and have a derby this year. Would be a huge shame to lose it. Obviously, we need travelling restrictions to ease so that the Irish can come over, because that's obviously a massive part of our derby is the Irish Challenge. But I think that's top priority, that we must get that rearranged as quickly as we can do, so that everyone knows where they stand. And for me, we must have an English derby.
Now, of course, everyone knows Kevin Hutton as one of the country's top trainers. But Dave, what's the history? What's the Kevin Hutton story?
Well, yeah, it's what, you 23, Kev, when you took out your license. But where did it all start? I did see you share a picture on Twitter where usually you're the tallest on a podium, accepting a trophy, but you was actually the shortest on that occasion. So where and when was that taken?
That was at Oxford Stadium. That would have been back in the probably late 80s. I should think I was probably 8 or 9 at the time. My dad was a bookmaker on course at Oxford and Swindon, and he had a couple of betting shops in Oxford as well. So I was kind of brought up, around the dog tracks. I spent most nights at either Oxford or Swindon. Dad used to own dogs and train a few himself as well. So as many people are, I was just sort of born into it, really.
And how did you go from being, attending, watching your dad's dogs running, to then being actually part of the industry, and I'm assuming a kennel hand to start with?
Yeah, it was quite funny actually. A friend of mine, when we were at secondary school, actually saw, I don't even know what it was, but he saw something on Blue Peter about racing grounds, and he said, looked really good. We should try and get into it. And there was a local trainer to us, Steve Davis, at Ducklington, and we just went down on a weekend on the off chance that we could do some work and maybe help out around
and
the
get your
kennels.
badge.
And yeah, start learning the trade. And my mate quickly realised it was far too much work and soon gave up. But I was addicted. That was it. Every school holiday, every weekend, as much time as I could get was spent at the kennels, and I loved it.
And how do we connect the dots? Because it's very difficult, as I'm sure you're aware still now today, that kennel hand is not the most lucrative career to set out on. How did we go from starting out as a kennel hand to becoming a trainer or a professional trainer at the age of 23?
Again, it was quite fortunate, really. Where I worked as kennelhand, there was a really good owner called David Shaler, and he had his own print business. And at the time, he was looking for an apprentice, someone to go in there. And I just fancied a change, to be honest. At the time, I needed to earn more money to one day be able to start the kennel. And that's what I did. I did printing for, I think, 7 years. And I was actually 25 when I took the plunge to start my own kennels. We were lucky to find somewhere fairly local to us that we could start, and that was it. It just went from there, really. And
is that where you are now, the same place?
Same place, yeah. We've been there nearly 15 years now. Yep.
And you say we should mention Donna very early. Donna Witchell's your partner and assistant trainer, very much part of the team.
Yeah, huge part of the team. Yeah, huge part. I mean, we've been together for just over 10 years now. And Donna's been full time at the kennels for a good few years. Gave up her job working for FedEx to join us, and we've not looked back. She's a huge part of the kennel.
Okay, well, let's move on to almost sort of more present day. In terms of how you train a greyhound, Kev, what's your philosophy and mindset of looking after, preparing, recovering your dogs?
I think the mindset is to give them the very best you can. Personally, I think food is the most important thing you can do for a greyhound. It's imperative that you feed the absolute best you can get. I mean, our dogs get the best beef we can get, the best salmon, fresh vegetables, pasta, honey, everything that we can give them to do the best for them is what we get. I think that's the most important thing. We like to work our dogs fairly hard. I mean, once they're up and racing regularly, they don't need too much. But I'm a big believer in galloping, very regular physio checks to make sure you're not missing any minor problems that could become bigger problems down the line. And yeah, as we've gone on in years, the post race is something we've definitely got better at as well. Getting the dogs recovered after the races and going into like the ultrasound and the physios and everything. So yeah, but it's not rocket science. It's give them the absolute best you can. Work very hard, be consistent, have a good routine, and you're not going to be too far away.
Has that approach evolved much since you took that plunge and took out and started your own kennels?
I think the basics have always been there, but definitely as time goes by and you get more experience with running dogs through competition, especially things like derbies, they teach you an awful lot. And obviously you learn as you go as well with different physios. You're always picking up different bits from people and learning from other trainers as well. You just got to try and take as much information in as you possibly can.
Well, I'm hoping we're going to be able to show some shots of your gallop, because I mean, it's an interesting subject. Some trainers don't gallop at all. They go on long walks. You've mentioned there that you like to use your gallop quite often. What surface have you got down? Tell us about it, Kev, because it is known as one of the best in the country at a trainer's kennel.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work on our gallop. I mean, it was virtually the very first thing that we put in when we done the deal on the kennels. And the surface is a mixture of sawdust and shavings. It's 290 metres long, and we're always working on it. We're always topping the surface up. We're always either watering or harrowing or weeding. There's always something to do on it. In fact, we were doing it tonight. We put nearly 100 bags of sawdust on it, harrowed it through, and it's all ready for tomorrow's galloping. But I mean, the thing with galloping is it's all about getting to know your dogs. We've got dogs there that don't even see the gallop. They wouldn't need it. They don't run. They probably run worse for it. But there's other dogs who would need, a couple of gallops a week. It's they're all different, and it's about getting to know them. But it's a huge part of our facility, and we definitely couldn't do without it.
Now, in terms of, the dogs will just be running in a straight line rather than round the track. Can you, just from watching them, gauge where they are in their sort of fitness and condition?
Yeah, definitely. Again, that kind of comes with experience. I mean, we've put God knows how many hundreds of dogs up there now, and yeah, you can certainly spot a good pup a mile off. And when you're bringing dogs back from lameness or season, you can see when they're starting to come right and are ready for trialing. It's a massive asset to us.
Okay, right. Well, I've got to ask you, in terms of the quickest that's ever been up there, would it be the WILDCAT, or would you have something that would go up with him?
No, it would be the WILDCAT. He has definitely been the fastest dog we've ever put up there.
Okay, fair enough. Right, I do quickly, before we look at some racing, want to talk about Toaster, Kev, because it's not too far away that we're going to see Kevin Boothby reopen Toaster. Now, you was there originally. Your thoughts on it coming back? I mean, more than anything, it's great to see a track open or reopen rather than close. It
is, yeah, and I think it could be a timely and huge boost for the sport. I mean, we were with Toaster from day one. We left Swindon to go there, and we had a fantastic 4 years there. It really was a big part of our success in turning the kennel round. We won pretty much everything there was to win there. And it definitely took us to that next level, and it was a huge loss to the industry when it closed. Obviously, a big blow to us financially as well, and I can't wait to see it back. I think Kevin Boothby's the perfect man to run Toaster. I think he'll make a great success of it. I've not been there. I've not been lucky enough to go there yet, but from the trial videos I saw on the Ground Star, it looks a fabulous track now. It really does. Yeah,
looks a gallop.
It looks completely different, doesn't it? The straights look huge, and I think it's a totally different type of dog you'll probably need for it now. It looks a huge gallop, so we can't wait. We can't wait for the Open to start there again, and it's only an hour down the road for us. Our owners, loved being there. As I said, it was a very lucky track for us. So no, we can't wait.
Now, and what is almost a seamless link. Talking of Toaster, Kevin, the highlight of your training career, without question, DOROTAS WILDCAT winning that derby in 2000.
Yeah, most definitely. Just what you dream of, isn't it? It's the absolute pinnacle of your training career. Something I dreamed about from the age of 13, 14, is to win an English derby. It doesn't get any bigger, especially at a home track, and to be lucky enough to own a half share in him as well. It was just a dream come true. It really was.
I think we're going to be fortunate enough to enjoy that final again, Kev. I mean, it was a stellar lineup, but it was a contest that was over pretty quick. Should we say time?
Yeah, obviously the break was a huge part of that race for him. We knew if he got the break right, he should have enough early pace to clear the inside, and then that was going to take a big effort. So it was a huge relief to see him probably break as well as he had done in the competition, in the final, and his early pace was just phenomenal, and it was a magical feeling. It really was. It was a dream come true and a great night. He was a very, very, very special dog.
Yeah, real champion. And for those that don't know, Kev, tell us, Toaster, a vast place. The viewing, you're quite far away from the track, but the viewing is brilliant. I'm sure you had a great view of the WILDCAT doing his stuff on the track.
No, not at all. It was just coincidence, really. I ended up watching the first round down in the paddock because we had quite a few runners on the opening night there, the first round of the derby, and I just happened to be stuck down there watching the first round, and same for the second, and then every round I stayed in my lucky seat watching the races on the telly, and that's exactly what I did for the final as well. So yeah, I didn't see a second of it live.
Now, we touched on it a little bit earlier on, Kev, but I mean, me personally, I think to win a derby, particularly before it switched to Nottingham and we had those 3 runs in a week, a test of Greyhound, yes, but a test of trainer as well, because preparation and, more importantly, with those 3 runs in a week, recovery. How did that go with the WILDCAT, And is it something that you kind of home in on during the Derby?
Yeah, you do. And I mean, we were very lucky with the WILDCAT. We had no issues at all through that Derby with them, which, you know, during 5 or 6 races and those 3 quick runs is you know, fairly unusual and very lucky. But again, you know, we kept on top of him immediately. Martin Lanny was coming over regularly from Ireland to treat him. We had Robert Mead go over him after every single race as well. You know, and he was always on the treatment table. You know, being seen to after his races. So, you know, we literally were obviously very hot on the post-race recovery, and thankfully it worked really well for him. He was fresh as a daisy after every race.
And there must have been a sense of satisfaction, Kev. I mean, because we spoke a number of times before the Derby when this dog first come onto the scene, and you know, there was a lot of talk of this fantastic litter. Was it the fastest in the litter? And you was always adamant that, you know, regardless of what any other dog in the country was doing, this was the fastest dog that you had ever put a lead on.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, he's from the very start. He was sensational. I mean, I think the last schooling trial in Newbridge he done something like 1750. So, you know, it didn't take a genius to work out he was going to be a little bit special. And he won on his debut at Nottingham in 2960. I think it was. It was a terrific run. And you know, he didn't go backwards, but he just took a couple of races to learn his trade in and around dogs. And you know, he went out of the Monmore Puppy Derby in the semi-final stage, and I think 2 or 3 of the comrades went on to make the final, and obviously Forest Com won it. And I think there were plenty of people, you know, sort of probably saying WILDCAT's not as good as everyone said he is, but you know, we knew he was incredibly special dog and that his time was come, and we didn't rush him. Took our time, kept him lightly raced, and thankfully it all worked out. But incredible litter, really was.
And Matt, one of the great Derby champions we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it hard though to celebrate, you know, a Derby win, given what had happened just before? I mean, it was well advertised at the time that you had dogs stolen from the kennel. I believe it was Jovial Monk was still missing at the time. You know, did that make it hard to celebrate what was an otherwise incredible achievement?
It did, Matt. Yeah, it definitely took the edge off the whole occasion for us. I mean, that was one of the toughest times we've had in our lives. You know, for those 5 dogs to be stolen, it was just an awful time, a lot of worry, and it was great credit to the team, to Donna and everyone that you know, they kept their minds focused and were able to get through a derby the way we did with all that going on. You know, they did incredibly well for us. And thankfully, you know, a week or 2 later, Monkey was found and everything in the world was good again. But yeah, it was a tough time, and yeah, it certainly took the edge off it. I didn't feel, you know, it didn't feel quite right celebrating when one of our dogs was still, you know, missing, which was a great shame, because obviously it should be the absolute highlight of anything you achieve. But so thankfully it all worked out in the end, which was the main thing.
Yeah, no, it's no surprise that WILDCAT turned into a superstar given his breeding. Of course, his dam DROOPYS DANNEEL in 2013 won the Oaks up at Bellevue. It was somewhat of a breakthrough year for him. We can hopefully have a little look at that replay now. Trap 6 she was here. It's a powerful performance. Yeah, she did well to avoid Greenwell Lark not doing more damage at the first bend here.
Yeah, she did. I mean, she was a terrifically brave and gutsy bitch, and you know, a lot of bitches with that trouble round the bend would have been out with the washing, but she was a brilliant bitch. She had pace in abundance, and she had a huge will to win, and she could do it against the dogs and the bitches. She really was brilliant, and yeah, was part of a magical year for us. You know, it was our first. Yeah, we won our first Category 1 race. We made a Derby final and won the Oaks. It was 2013 was a very, very special year.
As you say, she was a super bitch, and she did it against the dogs as well. You know, runner up in the Kent Derby to Exeter. At what point did you feel that she was going to be something special?
Well, she come in. She come into us after having a few races down with Seamus and Teresa, and I think she come in season not soon after we had her. So we kind of put her away and left her to herself. And I think she done something like 28.50 in one of her Swindon trials coming back from season, which was a incredible run on a trial day. And just thought, geez, what could this bitch be? And she just never stopped improving. And I say it's unusual for the bitches to be able to do it against the dogs, but regularly she beat very, very good dogs down at Central Park. And I say she was a very good second behind a brilliant winner of the Kent Derby that year. She was just a very, very special bitch, great bitch.
And of course, there have been a lot of phenomenal litters in the past, but her May 15 litter, the Ballymat Vic that contained DOROTAS WILDCAT, must go down as one of the best ever. DOROTAS Woohoo won a Scottish Derby, Forest Natalie, of course, Forest Con you mentioned earlier. I mean, are we going to look back on her as a Westmead Flight, a Sobbing Sow, a Tina Marine, one of the all-time sort of foundation dams?
I think so. I mean, certainly in my time in the sport, it's the best litter I can ever remember. I mean, it was just sensational. And her first litter, was very good as well. Through a couple of Cat 1 winners, I think, and some really fast dogs. But I say I've never seen a litter like that before. Even the dogs that probably didn't make the headlines, the likes of DOROTAS Dalmar, Hooligan, were really top open race dogs as well. So they were all there, and she was just a brilliant bitch off and on the track. Very, very special.
And as we said, in 2013, winning the Oaks was sort of the end of a breakout year. I mean, Dave, there were a couple of other dogs around at the same time for the Kevin Hutton kennel that were doing some great things as well. Yeah,
I mean, we'll try and take you chronologically through your CV, Kev. I know you sort of won competitions and broke track records before 2013, but just quickly give us a word on Airport Captain. What a fantastic dog he was for you, a competition dog, a track record breaker at two different tracks.
Yeah, Airport Captain was a terrific dog for us. Brilliantly fast, great competition dog as well. I think he won the Henlow Gold Cup doing the track record in the final. And from there we went on to the Champion Stakes, where he gave us our first Cat 1 success and broke the track record in the final there as well. Just a brilliantly fast dog. I think he went on and won the Ladbroke Stayers Classic the following year. Among many other races, he was just a brilliant dog. He really was.
And we jumbled all that up with, of course, you've already mentioned, was it Batman, Screen Critic, getting to that Derby final at Wimbledon? Just an incredible run.
It was, yeah. I mean, Batman was he was a wonderful dog for us, and probably, was the main dog to kind of put us in the spotlight. He finished second in the Arc at Swindon, behind one of the Shane Boy dogs of Rabs that broke the track record in the final. And then it was the first year we'd ever put dogs in a derby. So to make it all the way to the final and finish fourth was just beyond our wildest dreams. And, that really whetted our appetite for the big races. And he was just a very special dog. Gave ourselves and Michael George Burton a lot of great times.
Now, did that have an impact on the kennel, Kevin, that were people like, oh, Kevin Hutton got one to the Derby final, I might put a dog with him? Did you see people inquire and new owners come in?
It definitely did, yeah. It wasn't I suppose it wasn't an overnight thing, but gradually, with the great success we had in 2013, you were getting calls from new owners, fairly regularly. And obviously the class of dog you were attracting was getting better and better, which is obviously what you need. So, it wasn't an overnight success by any means. That was sort of 6-7 years in the making. But yeah, 2013 was a very special year for us. Yeah.
Now I want to try and bring a picture in, Kev, of you clutching a trophy. Now this is a picture taken at Toaster in 2017, but a trophy that was seemingly glued to your hands for 3 years in a row. The Trainers' Championship, which is a team event, of course, twice at Central Park, and then, of course, as we see there, at Toaster. You come a little bit of a specialist in that that Trainers Championship competition, as it were, Kev?
Yeah, we had some magical nights in the Trainers Championship. I mean, firstly, just to qualify for it was a huge deal for us back then. You know, we gradually improved the kennel and, you know, improved our record, and, you know, we kept setting ourselves targets of having 50 open race winners in a year and building from there. And I remember the first time we actually qualified for that was a huge achievement. And so we didn't dream of going into our first one and winning it. And probably after 4 legs, that looked about right. You know, we were bottom of the table and we're a long way behind, but the dogs just performed out of their skins, and we managed to win 4 races on the trot that famous night at Central Park and lift the first Trainers Championship, which was yeah, I mean, that's something you dream of. That's a trophy everyone wants to win. It's probably one of the best nights racing of the year, and we were very fortunate to then, you know, win it another 2 times after that.
And what sense of pride do you get from that, Kev? Because if people don't know, you know, you qualify for the Trainers Championship having the year before accumulated points throughout the year running in competitions, and the top 6 trainers then put in a team. They all raced against each other, and you came out on top racing against, you know, the best of the best.
Yeah, it gives you huge confidence, you know, that you can go out there and you can mix it with the likes of, you know, Mark Wallace and John Mullins and Seamus and Teresa and, you know, all the real big guns. Yeah, it's just, and again, it improves your profile all the time and helps you attract better dogs. And you know, I can remember sitting and watching those nights on Sky Sports. You know, they're one of the best nights of the year. So to be in there and mixing it with those and winning was a great feeling. Yeah,
absolutely. And Matt, that we saw pictures of Kevin at Toaster clutching that Trainers Championship trophy. Not the only trophy, along with that Derby trophy as well, but a certain magical bow providing joy for Kev as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Puppy Derby there in 2017. We've got a replay of that one coming up from track 2 here. Can you chat us through the race? What was going through your mind here? You've missed it.
Well, I didn't like the draw because you knew the one dog was going to move off. So we were probably quite fortunate that he missed the break a little bit, because he just tucked inside the one, and as soon as he did get his head in front, he ran a brilliant first bend. As soon as he got his head in front, you knew he would go on and win it. He actually went into this competition unraced, which is an incredibly difficult thing to do. You know, going to an English Puppy Derby unraced and come out the other end a brilliant winner. But again, he was a very, very special dog, Magical Bell.
Yeah, there's a couple of future staying stars in behind with Affleck Bolt and Roxanne Poppy as well. As you say, he went into the competition unraced. Did he always have that it factor about him since day one?
He did. I mean, he'd done a flying trial at Shelbourne Park before we bought him. Pat Gafford, you know, from day one, they always spoke very, very highly of him. And we were very fortunate that they allowed us to buy him. And we managed to put a syndicate together and get him to Burford. And again, he just from day one, it took 2 or 3 runs to get the hang of Toaster. You know, it was a difficult track to run for inexperienced dogs. But when he started finding his feet, he was absolutely brilliant. He was a very, very special dog. And I say, you know, we were fortunate that year that the Puppy Derby was worth £20,000 with the great sponsorship from ECC Timber. And I say he's just another great dog.
Yeah, of course, he was runner-up in an Irish Derby to Ballian Sim, finalist in the English Derby, where again didn't get an awful lot of luck with the draw. And now he's starting to make some waves at stud. I believe he's at New Park.
He is, yeah. He's with Sean Burke at New Park Stud, and he's been very, very popular with breeders. He's getting a good amount of bitches and a good amount of very good bitches as well. You know, that have proven dams that have thrown some really good types. So, he's been very popular, and it's all there for him to hopefully prove himself at stud, which I'm sure he will. He's got a fantastic dam line. You know, she threw superstars in every litter. And as I say, he was a very, very fast dog. He just had a nice way about him as well. I think he'll be a big success at stud.
Have you got any of his pups lined up for yourself yet?
We have. I actually sent both of my breed bitches to him. We've got a litter out of DOROTAS Star, who was from the first litter of DROOPYS DANNEEL. They are actually going off to Nick Savers for schooling. The first lot are going next week, hopefully. And we've also got a 3-month-old litter to Forest Natalie out of Bale as well. So that's how highly I regard Magical Bird. We sent both our own bitches to him. So yeah, we're hopeful that we might get something out of it.